We can walk to my place from here. Oh!
That was the last day I remember being a child.
I did not commit this crime.
The jury finds the defendant, Robert E. Douglas, guilty.
I'm Robert Deshaun Peace.
My question for you, Chiwetel and Jay. Chiwetel, this is your second movie telling the story of a boy genius. I wonder if this is by choice or just a project that has landed in your hands. And for Jay, how do you try to create a character so complex, to create that chemistry that we see on the screen with Chiwetel?
I feel for me, it's like when I read The Boy Harnessed the Wind, when I read Rob Peace, the short tragic life of Rob Peace, these are stories that end in completely different places, but they do have this commonality of a young black man, a young black boy in terms of The Boy Harnessed the Wind, a young black man, boy and man in Rob Peace, who are brilliant, who have this enormous capacity, enormous reach, who are kind of everything that you want out of to talk about, everything you want to highlight, and it isn't seen, I think, enough. It isn't seen enough in the full capacity, I think in Rob's story, it's obviously there are just so many. I think in William Kamkwamba's story there were systemic issues that he was dealing with as well. But they are so acute in Rob's story. They're so immediate in Rob's story. There's such a powerful intersection of race and housing and education and the criminal justice system that are compounding. And so this young man is having to really carry. He just had a lot going on. He just had a lot going on that other people just do not have going on. And it's sort of, and his capacity to be a connector in that, to be charismatic in that, and to still carry the weight of wanting to win, through all of this circumstance, I feel is important to see. So I want to celebrate those kinds of stories, those kinds of individuals. I don't feel like we see them in that sort of complex three-dimensional reality nearly as much as we should.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of the complexities, Chiwetel did a great job in terms of directing me to get into that level way past surface. For instance, we will be in maybe just a reading rehearsal, just to read over it. He would ask, "What is the dilemma here? What's the dilemma?" And I've never been asked that question before. In years of my training, years of my own inner study, I've never asked myself that question. I guess I live and experience breaking through or trying to get out of a dilemma, but asking myself that question really opened up a whole nother layer of possibility. So in terms of me pulling out those complexities and colors, I think it had more to do with me going within myself, because we all got those complexities. You love in here, and you maybe with your mother and with your family over here, and maybe you're alone, and all these different masks that we bring out. It's really survival. And ultimately, I just think I had to uncover my own mask with it, because again, I know the guy. I know this guy. I understand a lot of the dilemma. I understand a lot of the gaping hole and the driving force that will make one do the things that he did, even as far as the far out stuff to the most loving and honorable things. I get it. I think a lot of his influences with science had a lot to do with his outlook about life, breaking down the microorganisms, and that's where it started and expanding from there. I think it all comes together for him, I guess, in the perspective that I assumed with it. But the attachment to community has more to do with a higher purpose. I feel like, Rob had a lot of connections to higher source, bluntly said, he really tapped into higher self for sure. And I think that influenced his desires to serve.
One of the things that I really responded to in Rob was that, and one of the things I wanted to make in the film is that this is not a film about code switching. This is not a film about somebody trying to fit into these different environments in this way. This is about a guy who is his authentic self and brings the different worlds, the disparate areas of his world to him. It's actually one of the things that Jay was able to communicate really with a real skill, that you kind of you completely believe him in all of these different spaces. And that's something that was also Rob. And that's that idea that somebody is their authentic self in all of these spaces, that the world reacts the way the world reacts, but he holds his own identity. And that's the critical thing about Rob. So he can wear his do-rag in the lab at Yale, and it's not an act of defiance in any way. He is just being an authentic representation of himself, and let them think about it any way they want. And even if they do, and he did experience all of these microaggressions, he was still lend out an olive branch and still be a great communicator and connector with people, because that was who he is. And that's who he is back at home. That's who he is at Yale. That's who he is in his kind of totality. And actually, it's that sort of energy and that spirit that I always felt we need more of. We just need more of in the world. We need more of that kind of capacity to embrace all of those aspects of ourselves, and for other people to finally kind of get with that sort of program as well, and understand that's what true allyship looks like. Understanding the full context of somebody and embracing them as that.
I'm not proud of all the choices I made. Was I prepared to risk everything? I'm Robert Deshaun Peace